All right, good morning and welcome to Empowering Women series. My name is Pia McAdams. I'm an author. I'm also an accounting professor and a certified life coach. I specialize in personal and small business finance and also fitness. I help people reach their goals. And I'd like to welcome you to this Empowering Women series. This is a series where I invite women to come on and just kind of share our stories, our triumph, our successes, our experiences, things that we go through in life's journey. Because a lot of times as we're going through whatever it is that we're going through, we kind of feel that we're alone because we don't generally share our stories. And so this is an open platform where there's no judgment, and this is basically open where you're able to come on and just hear stories from other women, invite you to come on and share your stories so that we can see that we're not alone. Okay, because that's important because I want you to know that you're not alone. And I'm so excited to be bringing this series to you today, particularly with this guest. Her name is Tina Honey. Now, the subject is actually called The Healing from the Trauma of Date Rape. But just to kind of tell you about Tina, Tina is what I call my crazy friend Tina. I met Tina years ago in college. We were on the same track team. And she's one of those influential people that once you meet, you don't forget Tina. Like, she has great stories. She's upbeat. She's positive. I mean, she's just like one of those people that, once you're happy that she was brought into your life and she really makes a difference. So I'm so excited to be presenting to you, Tina Honey. All right, Tina, how are you?
Hi, how are you doing?
Good. This is take two, by the way, because we just was on, and I just wanted to let the viewers know, for those that had been watching before, we were on earlier, and then we got disconnected with some type of Tina, this is like the second time I've scheduled something with you, and there's been like technical difficulties. What's up with that? It was like the first time seriously, the first time that we scheduled, this was a couple weeks ago, we scheduled to come on, and I could hear you, or you could hear me, but we couldn't see you. And then, so we weren't able to do that. So we rescheduled. And then just now we just did the broadcast, started 20 minutes ago or so, or 10 minutes ago. And then all of a sudden it says, oh, the live broadcast ended. Did we not want this story to get out or what? I mean, is this supposed to be one of those kind of stories that kind of stays in the closet or something? This is crazy.
I guess not. Yes. My name, as she said, Tina M. Honey. I am a IT project manager by daytime. I am a author. I'm a travel agent. I am an entrepreneur of several different small businesses. And I'm always got a lot going on. He and I met at Morris Brown College, Mo Brown, NBC for life. And yes, we met. We were on a track team. So one of my businesses is Phoenix Experience. And Phoenix Experience is based on the mythical bird, that the bird goes through life. At some point it dies and it's reborn through fire. And I call our life experiences a Phoenix experience because we all go through things, we go through negative things. And what we hope to get out of that is that once we get past that negative thing and learn from it, there's a positive outcome and we're reborn again. And we continuously to do that throughout life. Every time we keep going through a negative thing, when we come out, we're stronger, we're better, and we're ready to handle the next adversity.
I love that. And what's your tagline?
It's you know what? We did this twice. I forgot. There's a light and dark side to life. It's up to you to choose how you will be reborn.
Okay, I love that. And I wanted to make sure that you say that because, again, you said so eloquently on the first taping. I just wanted the viewers to know that because, again, a lot of times what happens is when we hear, and this is, more so this is for us entrepreneurs, when we take the time to, let's say, come up with names or something like that, there really is a deeper meaning behind it. Like even with this Empowering Women series, it may just seem like, oh, it's just, something like, oh, it's just a name, but there's really thought behind that. And it's usually based upon something, either experience that we're going through or whatever. But, a lot of times people just kind of don't get it, and it's not explained. So I really wanted you to talk about, your company name, which is the Phoenix Experience, because, I got it right away, but I just, as an entrepreneur, I understand what goes behind coming up with names. But I just want you to kind of share it with the viewers.
Yes. Very much so. So, we were, we talked and we were talking about what could I talk about? What could I give to your audience? Some of my experiences. And we talked about this date rape. Mm-hmm. And date rape is not really talked about a lot in the community. And a lot of people are ashamed about it. And women don't talk to women. Yeah. So my story starts. I wrote about this in my book. My book is called "Honey, Make That Money, Don't Let It Make You," and we'll get into that at another time about where that title come from because that has a meaning as well. But
By the way, Tina has tons of stories. Like, I mean, for every situation, Tina has a story.
yes, I have plenty of stories. And so the first time I was actually date raped twice, and I wrote about it in the book. And the first time I was in junior high, and I, like most kids in junior high, I skipped school and I went to go see my boyfriend. And my boyfriend and I, we had sex. Yes, I was in junior high, but whatever, we had sex. And his brother was like, "Oh, you don't know what you're doing. I'm going to teach you. I'm going to teach you what a real man does." Well, he was like 14, 15 years old. So what kind of real man? In any case, his brother was short, and we were in Detroit, so there's basements in Detroit. So he drags his brother downstairs to the basement and ties him up to these big cement poles they have in the basement that really is more like a thing that steadies the ceiling, but it's usually decorative and they'll paint it or whatever. So I'm thinking it's all a joke because him and his brother are playing along. His brother is screaming, "No, let me go." And I'm thinking that it's a joke. So here I am, following along, watching what's going on.
Right.
Until I really see that it turns serious because he like really tied his brother up tight and like grabbed me and dragged me back up the stairs. And that's where, he dragged me to the room and, we're tussling and fighting or whatever. And finally, I just said, forget it. If he wanted that bad, let him go on and get it because I can get this over with. I know that's a different thought process, how most women will think. But I was just like, you know what? This is the quickest way probably to get this done.
Yeah, you're a baby.
Yeah, I'm like, I was probably 13 years old or so. And I'm thinking, well, this is the quickest way to get this over. If he wanted that bad, let him go on and get it so I can be done with it. So he does what he has to do. He ends up leaving the house. I go downstairs and I go untie my boyfriend out and tell him what happened. And he's like furious. But at the same time, now, let me just say, those who know me would know what I mean when I say you need to know who Louise Honey is. When my mama say, be home after school by a certain time, that means hell or high water. You better be walking down that street at that exact time. So we ain't got time to be thinking about what just happened and what all would happen. I got to be back to the block on time because remember, I skipped school and I wasn't supposed to be here. So even though, we're like running because I'm probably about 5 minutes behind schedule of where I'm supposed to be walking. And my mama used to be standing at the corner waiting. So she knew what time I was supposed to be here. So the whole time I'm walking and I'm like, yeah, okay, well, I can't tell anybody because I wasn't supposed to be skipping school. I can't tell my mom because, oh my God, I'm going to get killed. I wasn't supposed to be skipping school. And had I not been skipping school, I wouldn't have been in the position to be raped. Okay, but that's where a lot of women start to blame themselves. And they start saying, well, it was my fault. I shoulda, coulda, woulda. No. Okay, yeah, I shouldn't have skipped school, but it doesn't matter because he had no business violating me. I didn't go there and say, oh, because I'm skipping school, you're supposed to take it. So it is what it is. So that kind of went on. And, I didn't really think about it as life went on. I just kind of said, you know what? Hey, it is what it is. It happened. Ain't nothing I can do about it. I can't tell nobody about it. So just keep it moving because I can't let that incident, stop me from doing what I'm trying to do moving forward. I can't keep that.
So what about your boyfriend? Your boyfriend?
We stayed together, but he was pissed off at his brother or whatnot. But I mean, you're talking a brother that's 2-3 years older. I think he was like 6 foot and he's shorter, so there's not a whole lot you can do with that. So yeah, of course they had their falling out, but it's not a whole lot we could do about that. So far as I'm concerned, I rationalize it that it is what it is. It happened. I can't hold on to it for life and walk around like, oh my God, I was raped. So I kept it moving. I know that's not how a lot of women think about it, but that's just me. I just can't hold on to certain things because when you hold on to things, it just eats at you. And I got a whole nother story about that. But so that was junior high. And then there was a time that I also wrote about, I was an adult this time. And this was a girlfriend of mine's boyfriend. who used to make little comments here and there, and I was never in the same place alone with this dude, but I was talking to one of their friends. Well, this was a setup because I went to visit the friend, and we had sex. We had been talking for a while, so having a sexual relationship wasn't kind of out of the ordinary at that point. We had been talking on and off for about 3 or 4 months. But what happened is that once him and I got through, and he goes to the bathroom to clean up, and I'm waiting for him so I can go to the bathroom and clean up, here comes my girlfriend's boyfriend. And I'm like, what are you doing? He was like, oh, I always wanted to get with you. And I'm like, what? And so we tussle. And we tussle and we tussle and we tussle. And finally, again, my thought process is, if he wanted that bad, let me just go and get it so I can be done with it. Because, the longer I struggle, it seems like this is just going to continue to go on and on and on. I think this thing went on for maybe, 10, 15 minutes. It seems like forever when you're in the midst of. But again, I ended up telling her what happened.
Wait, go back to that instance. So at this time, you saying it was a setup. So those two guys were in cahoots. So did the other guy your friend stay in the bathroom throughout the whole time? Did he come out like what? Because you're obviously okay.
He left because He left because he knew what they had planned. What the plan was to get me to come over because now, I'm cool with him and I feel comfortable with what now we've been talking for a while. So the plan was for me to come over. It was his apartment. The guy who I was talking to was his apartment. He came, we did what we had to do. He pretends that he's going to go to the bathroom and get cleaned up. In the meantime, the other guy is waiting outside with me not knowing it. So this was a setup to begin with. So, again, a lot of women feel like, oh, I'm intelligent. How did this happen? Or, oh, I wasn't paying attention. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to blame myself for that. I went through the whole process. I've been talking to this guy for like 3-4 months. We've been going out. We've been having a great time. There was no signs of anything to that nature. So women cannot blame themselves for being in a position that they did not foresee. We just can't do that. And so after it was all said and done, I would say maybe a couple of months down the road, I ended up telling his girlfriend. And that's another whole big story. But my whole point about recovering from date rape is that you cannot allow negative things that happen to you in your life and make it change your destiny. You have to continue to create your own destiny. I did not let those two negative things affect relationships that I have with guys. Everybody starts with a clean slate until you show me differently. And that's what a lot of women, they hold on to that. And it affects their personal life. It affects their relationship. It affects sometimes even their corporate life when they're working their professional life. You cannot let negative things that happen to you stop you and change your path.
So now let me ask you this, because it seems like you had the same, like I introduced you as having like a positive, upbeat attitude from the very beginning. It seemed like you've actually had this. How did you develop that? Like, was this something just like was instilled in you? Like, how did you develop, because again, like I said, most women going through, let's say, you're 13 years old. Was this your first sexual experience, or, not to put your business out there, or was this?
My business is very out in the book, so it's okay.
Okay, all right. Just want to just put it out there. Okay.
No, it was not. I first had sex at 12.
Okay. So this was your first sexual experience, but still you're young. You don't really know what it's about. At 12, 13, what do you really, there's some people 30 don't even know what it's about really, right? But so you don't know what it's about, but you obviously understand what's happening to you because, you have an instinctual, instincts within you. But how then did you, like most women, like especially at 13, they would just go internal and just, internalize it, and it would totally change the trajectory of where their whole life starts off from there. How did that not affect you like that?
I've always been a rebellious person. I'm the rebel, so I'm always the one that if you say go left, I'm going right. And so I always knew and had heard about, these types of things. And I just wasn't going to let it control me, And that's just kind of how I am in life, period. I don't like rules. I like to live outside of the rules, outside of the box. I always had this attitude that you see different things on TV. You always heard about, men controlling women and things of that nature. And I always said to myself, I'm not going to be controlled. And for all those women, they're not strong enough to stand up for themselves. Somehow, some way, I decided at that young age that I was going to be the one for all those women. I was going to be the voice for all those women that couldn't stand up for themselves. And it's interesting because throughout the years, year after year after year, I would always meet different women who just weren't that strong, but I was that strong voice for them. I was there to say, no, you should do this, or you should try this, or you should keep going, keep pushing, keep moving forward. Don't let that change who you are.
Interesting. Okay. All right. So now, for instance, it's different, I imagine, from 13. Now, how old were you around the second time?
The second time I was like 22, maybe. Yeah, 22.
All right. So at 22 is obviously a totally different experience now, because now you're dealing with, someone, an adult at 21, over 21, you're considered adult, but it's a totally different experience. And I understand how you said that you were this like rebellious type of person, but at some point, did you for an instant just kind of like say, wait, what, did it depress you at all? Or did you just literally just said, no, I'm not going to let it go from the beginning and then move on?
I think for a minute I tried to, kind of look within to try to figure out, did I miss any signs? Did I say anything? Did I do anything to make him think that this might be all right? Was there anything, I did go through that for a short second. And then I thought about it and I said, no, I know I didn't, because I know for sure that every time that, he would make little comments, I would totally remove myself from the situation. Or when she would say, oh, he said blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever, and I would just keep it moving. So I know when I thought about it for that split second, no, I didn't do anything that gave anybody an impression that this was okay. And again, because I had went through that experience at 13, that just made it even more so that, oh, I'm definitely not about to let this, change my direction. Now, of course, I was pissed off. Like, how the heck can this happen how does this happen 2 times in a person's life? Really? Does this really happen? But I still was like determined, it's not going to stop me from being who I am. I'm not going to change. I'm not going to look at every guy and say, oh God, he's a rapist, because that's just not true. It's not realistic. It's not logical.
Now let me ask you this though, because now it's different at 13, obviously, than versus 22. So at 22 years old, did you take any legal action? Like, did you contact the police, or did you do anything? Like, tell me about that. And then also, how was your interaction with your friend that put you in that situation?
Well, the interaction with the friend that put me in the situation, obviously, I never spoke with him again. They called, I never answered. The guy?
Yeah, your friend. Did you ever confront your friend?
I told my girlfriend about it. That was her.
No, not her man. I'm saying your friend that owned the apartment.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. I never talked to him again. He called. I never answered. You
never confronted him.
No,
okay.
No. There was nothing. As far as I'm concerned, there was nothing to be said. You set it up. I knew he set it up. I knew he was part of it. Whatever part of the setup he was, whether he created it or whether he agreed to it, as far as I was concerned, there was no need to talk to him because he was part of it. So I was done.
And then what about the police? Did you ever think about calling the police?
It actually never crossed my mind.
Really?
Interestingly enough, it never crossed my mind. And I think because back then, calling the police or whatever wasn't, in the forefront. Now, today, if you talk about it, yeah, that's the first thing you think of is to, make sure I think with all the TV shows, you make sure you get to the hospital, you make sure you get the rape kit, you make sure you save everything, you make sure you get everything so you can call the police and give a full report. It never even crossed my mind. So, but I would say for women to call the police though, because when you don't, that's how men get away with this stuff. Because women are afraid to report it. And then a lot of people try to shame women. But I would say, don't be ashamed. Just go and tell. Go get everything. Go to the hospital. Get everything checked out. And make sure you make that police report. Because the more and more women that report this, the more and more men, hopefully, at some point will stop. But at that point, at 22, That was early, I guess it was late 80s, early 90s. It wasn't even a thought process.
Okay. All
And I
right.
just
So now let's say it again.
I was going to say, I just think because back then it wasn't an open topic like it is now.
Got it. Got it. So now let me ask you this now, because I think a lot of times, and I've not ever been in that situation like that, but I assume that, with the shameful feeling, you also start feeling like no one's going to believe you. So, and the only reason I'm asking this is because of that, that feeling that people may have. So when you told your friend about her boyfriend, did she believe you? Or what was her reaction?
She believed me, but we fell out for a while. We fell out. We didn't talk for a few months.
Did she blame you, or like or she was just more so that was more her dealing with her own?
I think she was dealing with her own. Of course, in the beginning, she said, she felt it was my fault, said it was me or whatever. And we didn't talk. Matter of fact, I think it was about a year that we didn't talk. We fell out. And later on, somewhere down the road, we talked again, and she said, "No, I always believed you. I knew that, he always made these comments, and I actually believed you when you told me. I was just so pissed off and furious at him that he had did that to you, he did that to me, he did that to our kid, that she said, I took it out on you."
Oh, okay. Okay. So then, for instance, what advice would you have for people, like I said, that are feeling shameful or feeling that they're not going to be believed based on the story? Because, I mean, yours is, obviously they say like date rape occurs with people that or an extension of a person that you know, but what advice would you have for women that are in situations like that?
I would say, don't let an experience that someone else violated you, that you didn't ask for, don't take that on as your own personal responsibility. Go to the police. We talk now. These topics are well open now. Talk to somebody, reach out for counseling. A lot of people don't have that same strong, I would say that same strong mindset as I may have. I know a lot of people need help. There's a lot of people struggling with that. So don't hold it inside. Immediately go to the police. Immediately go, get the whole rape kit, get it checked out, make the report. It doesn't matter if no one believes you, because you are, speaking your truth. Speak your truth. Stand up. Don't let them bully you to not say anything, because that's really what it is. When they come back around and say, "Oh, I don't believe you," people are trying to bully you that it's not your truth. Speak your truth. And please, please go get help if you need help, because everybody cannot rationalize a negative incident like I may have rationalized it. And we all know, there's different types of rape. And that's why I only spoke about date rape, because I'm sure when you're talking about a violent rape, it's totally different. Right. It's a total different thought process. And so that's why I made it very clear about what type of rape I was talking about, because a violent rape is just totally different. The whole rationale, the thought process, the things that you have to go through, a person is not going to try to rationalize it the same way as a date rape.
Oh, okay. Now, did you ever, after this instance, did you ever go to like a support group or anything like that?
I thought about it, and
or helping other women.
I thought about going to a support group when I was, later in my 20s, because there's one other quick piece of this that is in the book that I need to say. So the funny part so the first rape when I was 13, I ended up going to high school with my rapist, and I had to see him for about 2 years until he graduated. So every day. And I remember he spoke to me, "Hey, Tina, how you doing?" And I was like, whatever, I haven't forgotten. And so I had to see him every day. So, that's one thing that I had to rationalize, that, I couldn't tell anybody, and I could not let seeing him every day, again, change who I was. I just had to keep moving. So that's one caveat that a lot of people don't know. It's in the book, but a lot of people don't know. I had to see him, my rapist, for 2 years. The second part is that I did later on, probably 23, 24, thought about, maybe I should go to a support group, and talk about it. And I'm like, well, what I'm going to talk about? I'm going to talk about what I've already kind of talked to myself about. And I kind of felt like I self-medicated myself, because I talked through it and I realized that wasn't my fault. Even though, I was there to see one guy, I didn't ask for the other guy to come over there. I didn't ask to be set up that way. So I ended up never seeking counseling, but I know a lot of people, they can't rationalize it that way. So they will have to seek and talk to somebody. And so I advise them to go talk to somebody. I ended up not helping with date rape, but I did end up helping with domestic violence. So I have been a volunteer for domestic violence for quite some time that I've been down here in Florida. So it's not the same, but it's still helping women who are going through negative situations with men who are trying to empower and bully them.
Got it. Okay. Wow. Now let me ask you, something came up my mind and it just kind of slipped my thoughts, but I'll see if I can remember it. It's something that you were saying. Over time, like now, obviously it's like 20 some years ago that this has happened. Okay. When was the first time that you actually spoke about it?
Spoke to more than just a small circle was really when I wrote the book.
Yeah.
Really when I wrote the book.
So, like, for instance, maybe we're talking about the second time when you're 20. So immediately after it happened, well, you said maybe a month down the line, you told the other girlfriend. So you were actually telling other people about it, because right now it's like you're not waiting on your mom. Wasn't that same situation. So now you're a little bit older. So when you're telling the few women that you told it to, what were their reaction? Well,
again, I didn't tell anybody until I told his girlfriend.
Oh, okay.
I didn't tell anybody. There was conversations that her and I were having, and she was, thinking that he was cheating, and she was, there was a lot of things going on, and she would say, what do you think? What do you think? And I would say, I think you should go do whatever you want to do, because she didn't know the experience that I had just had, reason why I kept saying that. And so at some point she finally said, you know something. And she was like, what do you know? And so that's how the conversation got started. And I went on and told it. And, for years I had said, I would never tell a person again. I would let them figure it out on their own. But, now that I'm older, I'm like, whatever. I'm going to tell the truth. I can't sugarcoat the truth. I can't, hug it. I can't wrap it up. The truth is the truth. Truth is always not comfortable. But that's me. And I would do it. I would tell it again. When I was younger, I said I would never do it again. I would never tell. But now that I'm older and thinking about it again, I'm like, I would tell it. And I would have told it sooner. I would have told it that day instead of waiting for a while.
Okay. So, like, for instance, I know for you, this may be different just because of your mindset at the time, but there's some women out there that have suffered, let's say, a date rape, and it may have been years ago, but they're still, because they internalize it, and like you said, they kind of blame themselves, it's affecting them to this day, even though it may have happened years ago. So obviously, like, let's say, I think there's like a 7-year, if the TV's right, 7-year statute of limitation for rape or something like that. But what advice do you have of women that suffered rape a long time ago, and there's really nothing per se they could do about it as far as the assailant is concerned? But what advice do you have for them?
I would say go and, if it's bothering you, if it's stopping you from moving forward in your life, if it's stopping your career, if it's stopping your relationships, your personal relationship, especially, because that's where you see a lot of problems when they have personal relationships, then they need to seek counseling. Because obviously, if it's still bothering you at this point, you're not able to get over it on your own, and you need help to be able to go through the steps to be able to walk through and forgive yourself, because all they're doing is carrying around guilt and they're not forgiving themselves. And you have to forgive yourself before you can move on, because holding on to that, most people feel guilty. And that's the problem. You should not feel guilty because you didn't do it. But a lot of women feel guilty and they're holding on to the guilt and blaming themselves. And so that's why I say they need to seek counseling, because they need to learn how to walk through those steps in order to learn how to forgive themselves so they can move on.
Okay, and something else that came to mind, and this may affect you as well. There's some times where we go through something, and let's say we rationalize it. Fine, we feel fine, but it really does affect us, but we don't realize it affects us. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I say that I was affected by if I met a guy and he said something kind of off the wall that sounds like, I met a guy one time and he made a comment about, I don't know how we got onto this conversation, But he said something about, oh, yeah, I wanna grab you, I wanna rape you, I'm like, whoa, hold on, excuse me? Again, this is not somebody that had any inkling of any kind of thought process like that. But as you start to talk to people and get to know them, more things start coming out. And I said, hold on, wait a minute. I said, we gonna have to stop this conversation right here. I said, that is totally not okay. I know that you may be thinking, something more of a, sexual nature that's, outside of the box. I said, but that's just not going to work for me. And I cut it off. And so, yeah, there are certain trigger words for me we just can't have that conversation. He could have been playing. He could have been, totally different, not even thinking that way. But no, that's not cool. But a lot of men think that's cool. A lot of men say things to women that they think is cool because the woman don't stop and cut it off. And so then things just keep progressing and progressing and progressing. And then the woman's like, oh, how do I get out of this? You have to cut things off immediately. As soon as you're uncomfortable about something that a man says to you, immediately you have to cut it off. And it doesn't matter if he thinks that you're being overly emotional or it doesn't matter. If it bothers you, then it's not the right thing.
Oh, so much. So true. So true. Well, Tina, is there anything else that you have or any other kind of advice? Because I think this was very good information that you shared as far as, your experience with date rape and particularly your mindset, because that's what's important, is making sure that you develop or, cultivate that strong mindset where you realize it's not your fault. Because I know your situation was totally different. There's some women that may have had like a little short skirt on and they say, well, if I hadn't had that short skirt on, but it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. You didn't ask for it. And no means no.
Exactly. It doesn't matter. And it's really sad that a lot of men still to this day blame women to say, oh, if you hadn't have wore that, if you hadn't have looked like that, if you hadn't have been there, whatever. When you talk about it with men and women, there's still a lot of men that have that mindset that it's her fault. So, we got a long way to go to change the mindset of men of whose fault it is. It's not the woman's fault. No one should violate someone who did not want, who didn't have the permission to move forward. So it's just a whole mindset that we are going to have to continue to work on and change.
So let me ask you this. So you've actually talked to men and they like admit to saying, oh, if she hadn't wore this or something like that?
Yeah, there's a Facebook group that I'm in that's a group of friends from all walks of life. And there was a particular scenario that came up that we posted, and it was about a woman who used to date a man who had got married, was going out of town on a business trip, and it was in the town where her ex-boyfriend used to live. So she calls the guy to meet up with them for lunch, and in her mind, she wants to basically kind of meet him and have him look at her like, hey, this is what you missed out on, because she's happily married. So her thought process is just, hey, this is what you missed out on. So they have dinner. She never told her husband that she was going to have dinner. So she go have dinner. They walk back to the hotel. She's thinking everything is good. They're going to say goodbye. And he rapes her. He walks her to the room, and instead of saying goodbye, he rapes her. There were so many men that said it was her fault because she didn't tell her husband that she was meeting this guy, that she was looking for attention because she wanted the attention from this guy. And why does she need attention from him when she's married already? That she was looking to possibly have sex. She, the way she dressed, that she put on some sexy dress and sexy underwear, whatever. And we were like, a lot of the women in the group were like, what? So,
Wow.
like I say, in this day and age, we still got a long way to go to change the thought process of a lot of men of whose fault it is when women are raped. It's sad, but we have a long way to go. We got a lot of work to do.
Wow. Unbelievable. Well, Tina, thank you for sharing your story and coming on and talking to us. If people want to get in touch with you, what are some of the things that you have coming up?
I have a business rescue seminar that I've been asked to speak at. It is August 19th from 10 to 1 in Green Acres, Florida. And the title that I'm going to speak on is Continuing to Walk Through My Phoenix Experience. So I'll be giving more stories about my Phoenix experience and how my experiences have led me toward entrepreneurship and got me to become an author and a travel agent and some of the other businesses that I have. So I'll be talking about that. I'm looking to do a couple of, events. I'm looking to do a couple of events. I'm looking to do a couple of, 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 events. I'm looking to do a cou book signings, looking to do something potentially in Detroit and in Texas. We're kind of nailing down some time frames, so I don't have any particular dates yet, but looking to do something this year. So you can go to my website at www.tinamhoney.com. You can also follow me on Facebook at author Tina M. Honey on Facebook, and on Instagram, it's at Tina M. Honey. And I'm always posting different information there. So you can follow me there. You can also email me there. You can also email me at tina@tinamhoney.com if you want to get me to come on your show or do speaking engagements, or just reach out and get more information of how to get my book. My book is also on my website in paperback and in ebook.
And what is the name of your book again?
Honey, Make That Money, Don't Let It Make You. Yes, that's a whole nother show, guys, for you guys to understand where that title came from.
It's not like a big deal or something, but because I know it's about you, is Tina Honey your stage name?
No.
Like, is that that's
Honey is my last name. Yeah, and just a quick synopsis that the book is a memoir about my life. It starts off in Detroit. And basically, I was born into adversity because I was born, and at 3 months, my maternal grandmother stole me and threw me into foster care. So that's where this whole adversity, the whole reborn, the whole phoenix comes about, because I was born into adversity. So a constant negative, positive, negative, positive. And so I tell my story, and basically I kind of look at it. I was a middle-class kid with hood-like experiences, but did not fall into that hood upbringing, and I didn't fall into jail. So it's a quite interesting story, and I hope that you go out there and buy it and reach out to me and find out more about it.
all right. Well, again, I want to thank you, Tina, for coming on and sharing your story. And for those viewers that are out there, this information that we talked about today, which is date rape, this is something that, again, we don't share this type of experience that happens to us, but it does happen to us, and we need to make awareness known that it's okay, it's not your fault. No matter what you think, it's not your fault. And to help cultivate that mindset, to understand it's not your fault. And to do that, number one, as Tina mentioned, make sure you take action. In other words, call the police, do the things that you need to do, like reach out to someone. Don't just kind of hold on it. Even if you think it's your fault, call someone, call the police and report it, because that's important. Because if we don't report it, like, I'm just baffled that Facebook, you said, like, men are still having that mentality that, oh, it's the woman's fault. That's unbelievable. But again, it's out there. So, and then we, on the other hand, are thinking it's our fault. So that's like a double. It's terrible.
Yes.
But anyway, so again, it's about having that mindset of going internal. And I love how you have, Tina, that strong mindset of just, going inside and just talking to yourself and rationalizing what was going on and saying that it's not your fault. Because that's what's important. Number one, is we tend to blame ourselves on anything that's happened to us in a negativity. Okay. But it's not necessarily your fault. So again, Tina, I want to thank you for coming on. Viewers, thank you for watching. Please do share this information with others. And I will see you again on the next Empowering Women series. And again, I want you to understand and know that you are not alone. All right, see you next time. Bye.
Bye.